Hi, I'm Jim Smith. This is the 1000. We're back with Dennis Young, firearms campaigner, seeker of truth. Your main tool for seeking truth seems to be the Access to Information Act, in both provincially in the province of Alberta and federally. What is an application under those acts?
Well, when I was working for Gary Breitkreitz in Ottawa, I filed something in the neighborhood of 600 access to information requests, trying to get information out of the Liberal government of the day to find out things that they didn't want to tell us. And so I became very familiar with how easy it was to file an access to information request. It's only $5. You fill it out and send it in, and you may not get what you want back, but then you can complain to the information commissioner and tell them, tell her why you should have got more than you did, and the game keeps being played. If that doesn't work, you can even take the federal government to court to dispute the fact that they didn't release the information. So I've never had to do that. I am planning on doing it with the High River files, but both from the RCMP and the National Defense. But it's a very simple process. The FOIP, or Freedom of Information program in the provinces, is a little bit much the same. Just the fee, instead of $5, it's $25. The complaint process is the same. It's very effective. I've filed, since I retired in 2007, I've filed another 100 access to information requests and FOIP requests. So it's I just keep asking questions that I think people would like to know, particularly in the firearms community.
So what sort of issues are amenable to these kind of requests? Are there any issues that doesn't work under freedom of information, or what can you ask for?
Well, they used to say that you couldn't ask questions, like you have to ask for records or documents. But during the High River investigation, I got a file by mistake. The RCMP sent it to me, and somebody had asked them questions about High River. And it was a setup. I think somebody said, well, if you ask these questions, we will provide the cover-up answers. And so now that they've responded to these questions, I am now using access requests to ask questions of them. And they're opposing that, but I've filed complaints with the Information Commissioner saying they answered questions for somebody. It wasn't me. Why won't they answer my questions? But it's a very simple process. You just ask for the records. I filed one today. I asked for all the records regarding problems and backlogs they're having with the DNA data bank, the sex offender registry, the CPIC backlogs. Then I also asked them about backlogs in the firearms information system. And what I'm trying to get at there is that they've got backlogs in systems that are relating to real criminals. But I suspect that there are very few backlogs in the firearms information system. So when I get that, it'll be very revealing. And if they try to cover it up, again, we'll just file more complaints.
You talk about cover-ups and about not getting some information. I gather this material comes pretty heavily edited or redacted?
Some do. The most recent thing, particularly on the High River documents, they've said the last 3 responses I've got, even though there's thousands of pages of documents that I'm entitled to, they've exempted them all entirely. So I've got 0 documents, not just redacted documents, but not blanked out or blacked out documents. They're totally exempt. So they didn't give me anything. So those complaints are being investigated by the Information Commissioner now.
If there's a young person out there who's looking at a long-term career as a political activist, what sort of information do they need to know to become active in the Freedom of Information request to information, whether it's guns or anything else? You've mentioned there's other issues.
It depends on what your interests are. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be firearms. It can be right to life issues. It can be freedom of speech issues, anything like that. In fact, John Carpe with the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms is very interested in learning more about how to use access to information requests and freedom of information requests to get information to help his court cases. So there's no end of what you can find out if you ask the right questions. And if a young person wants to get involved, if you have $5, it's that easy. You can go to my website and you can see samples of access requests I filed. I filed one today, as I said, and it's there as a model that they can design their own form over. You don't have to fill out the government's forms. The form just has to include the information that the government needs on the form, not a particular form. Because I find the forms the government has don't allow you enough information to provide enough background information to tell the department that you're requesting the information from what exactly you're seeking.
I was just reading Pierre Valier's book on the FLQ crisis, and he quotes John Turner as saying that he hopes 50 years after the event that the records of that will come forward. So they're clearly under some sort of 50-year seal. Is that common in?
Well, often when you file an access request, you'll get an exemption, and it'll be called a cabinet confidence, which is really it's an issue or a document that has been reviewed by cabinet, and then it's subject to cabinet secrecy. And you have to wait at least 20 years before those documents become public, and then there's other factors after that. In fact, we're coming up on the 20-year, like 1995 was when C-68 was passed. A lot of documents were withheld from Gary Breitkreitz's office because of cabinet secrecy. And I'm very eager to try to access those cabinet secrets when they become available.
And C-68, for people who can't keep track of the alphabet soup, was the long gun registry issue. Okay, thank you very much. We will be back, and we'll put Dennis's website up right now. Well, that's today's little talk. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends, and if you can support us, if you can see your way clear to support our project, to support our history, please feel free to do so. We exist totally on your support.